So I'll just tell me when to come in, and I'll just mute myself and do what I
Let's
got to
just
do.
do it. Let's just
You
do
got
it.
it.
Welcome
You're
everyone
live.
to the Thresholds of Reality.
Yes,
The
it's always
podcast.
good to be on the threshold of reality.
This is the podcast where we explore unexplained and mysterious events, phenomena, and legends. Today we are joined by actual real-life Knights Templar, UFO expert, and cryptozoologist
Technically, yes.
Sir Bryan Bowden. Strap in as we explore the edges of the unknown.
And we're here. And you're muted.
No, I'm not muted. I just kept quiet.
No, Sam was
I
muted.
was muted. Sorry, I was muted.
we go through this all the time. You know, whether it's my show or I do a show every Wednesday with guys called Three Beards Podcast, and I'm a pro. I mean, I could even put sound effects in, and so we're good.
You have your foot in a lot of paranormal research. You know, we talked about we were going through your bio. We talked about UFO research pretty heavily. You've presented at a lot of different conferences there. Yeah. You are researching cryptids like Sasquatch and Dogman, and there's a lot of areas that you're kind of involved in. How did you know, why so many areas instead of focusing on one or two?
Well, it all starts growing up, you know, being into monster movies, like original monster movies, not this, like, you know, as much gore as you can get or as much killing as you can. You get the werewolf, Frankenstein, Dracula, that type of stuff. And then I kind of grew up in the 70s. So we had In Search Of and Carl Kolchak. And Kolchak was an investigator for a newspaper that always found like mummies or Dracula or Blackula or whatever it is. So it's kind of cool. I was into space and stars and planets. This is, you know, around the time that they started talking about the space shuttle. Always thought about aliens and all that stuff. So this is what it was. And then on the program In Search Of, which was hosted by Leonard Nimoy, they talked about Bigfoot, you know, Pacific Northwest. They showed the Patterson Gimlin film. They talked about UFOs over the Pentagon in the 50s. You know, Bigfoot, Loch Ness, the whole thing. It didn't hurt that my dad was he was a professional photographer, but he basically worked for Wide World Photos. So all these pictures I'm seeing on TV, I was getting copies of. So, and we would have a monster, you know, growing up, you have a monster club, you know, besides trading baseball cards or comics or whatever it is. So that's where it started. And then I was lucky enough that my mother worked at a sleepaway camp in Connecticut, northwestern Connecticut. And you know, when you come from New York City and you go to northwestern Connecticut, you can actually see the stars. So we used to see these little objects moving through, not aware that could be satellites. So, you know, but way back when in this like night, I don't know if it was 77, 78, 79. It was one of those years. It's, you know, it gets to become a blur when you get older. One of those years. I was in this bunk and what happens in the bunk is, so your counselors, some counselors are on duty. They watch you during the night. And then the other counselors go to town and drink and try to hook up. And when they come back, you hang out till about 2, 3 in the morning. And then usually when the counselor comes back, he shuts the lights off. So you know that like he wants to go to sleep. So there was one night that it was actually the same night, which is very odd because we'll go into another story. I don't know how old I was, 10, 11, 12, whatever it was. And we're hanging out and we go, you know, we walk outside the side entrance of the bunk and there's a full moon. And then we see this, it's about the size of a $50 in view and it's on fire. And it's like, you know, strobing and everybody like all 13 of us or 15 of us, like, look at that UFO. And it's a strobing and moving through from my right to the left. So like we were like, holy crap, that's cool, right? And then after it was over, let's go back inside, and we played Dungeons and Dragons. And I don't know if it was the exact same night, but around that same time, I went to bed and I woke up to a smell of skunk, really, really bad. And like I've smelt it before, because when in summer camp, there's always skunks, there's always food, whatever. So that wasn't unusual. But when I got up where my bed was in the bunk, it was a double decker. I was on the top of it, and my feet happened to be where the bed ended was a 3 foot by 3 foot window. Okay. So I'm about to get up because I have to go to the bathroom, and I get up and I see something moving in my window, and it looks a little bit like, like shadow play from the trees, but darker. And then I kind of peek up forward, and it's not shadow play. There's a ginormous face in my window, and it's kind of like doing the lean to the right, left, looking around, and my feet are right by it. And you can see the brow, you can see the nostrils and the nose and the lips. It looked like a giant gorilla or man gorilla in the window. So being a young kid, got nervous, and I stayed there. And I stayed there as long as I could. Because whatever was that big peeking in my window, and my feet were no more than 2 inches away from, could have easily went through the window, grabbed me, and pulled me through. Eventually, I had to go to the bathroom. So, I was either going to pee on the Billy Carmen below me, or, or get, go to the bathroom. So I slid out very, very quietly, slid my feet back, and then slid down, and literally didn't make a peep. We went all the way over to, the back end of the bunk where the bathroom is, used the bathroom, checking on this creature. It wasn't there after a while, but I still dog crawled like that military crawl under all these beds to get back. That's where like the UFO, my first encounter with those things was. And that's where and I've seen so many more objects up in that area, from that point of being a camper to being a counselor to being a group leader. And I never saw that strobing, circle. Like it seriously looked like it was a little bit on fire. And then like inside were these like, looked like suction cup tentacles that would go in and out. And that's how it was moving across the sky. But in the whole thing growing up, seeing that, if you watched all those Leonard Nimoy movies, you read any of the books, everything was in the Pacific Northwest. It wasn't in Northwestern Connecticut. So I'm not thinking Bigfoot. I don't know what that was. And UFOs are UFOs, and we go on with our lives. It wasn't until I got later that I really started to be able to investigate it. I had more sightings in the sky, a couple of triple objects. I did live in New York at the time. So I remember watching the Hudson Valley UFO fiasco take place, Route 84, with all the different crafts. I know the area cold. And I remember asking my dad, can we go up there? And he's like, what? No, we can just go up there. No, we're not going up there. But that's where it started. And then from there, it's just, you just see objects. You're paying attention to it.
Have you noticed? So that kind of got you started.
Yeah.
And then from there, what's the kind of initiation ritual into ufology or pursuing research in kind of the paranormal?
So before it was a big paranormal thing, they usually called it high strangeness. Now that I group everything into the paranormal. So that's ghosts, that's specters, cryptids, anything of high strangeness. And I was into it now, and that's how I just started investigating. You read a lot, you start talking to people that were the celebrities you were meeting on, you seeing on TV. You never thought you would talk to. Now I talk to probably most of them, and they all know who I am, and I know who they are, and we compare notes. But from that, it's reading and then going out on investigations, going out and sitting there and knowing certain hotspots in the New York metro area, which was New York, Connecticut, New Jersey. I didn't do too much of Pennsylvania at the time, but I kept in that general area. And we would go to certain spots that had were known hotspots. People have had sightings of large craft there. supposed abductions. And I just started following that path. And within that following the path and going out and researching, you start meeting people. No one's just going to come up to you and say, "Hey, I saw a UFO." No one was going to say that. But when you start having conversations with people, you get older and you're hanging out, people will know that you're into it, and then they'll say, "Well, yeah, there was this one time I was with my girl and, we were hanging out and all of a sudden this craft came out of nowhere," and they'll describe like a cylinder, or they'll describe that classic UFO shape, the pie pan.
Yes.
Yeah, the disc. I've had a couple of people I've met through friends. Oh, you got to hear, you got to hear the story from my friend. So you get stories, and then you start collecting it, and then you kind of write down notes on it. And the more you go out, the more you ask questions, the more people know who you are. Then they start opening up to you, and that's how it goes into that. Now, when you get into the cryptid side of stuff, because I believe there's a correlation to all these things. And when you get into the cryptid side of things, there's got to be, in my opinion, a Rosetta Stone, common thread. And there is. And I discovered it, sound, frequency, vibration. But to get into that, you have to start experiencing these things. And I start seeing stuff more about cryptids. And I see these lights associated with Bigfoot, which are now appearing, which they have always appeared, but no one really reported it in the New York metro area. And that's how it goes. I mean, you just keep going, and then eventually I got not threatened, but someone challenged me, like, you should go to, I bet you won't go to a UFO meeting. And I'm like, I got nothing to do. My wife was cool, whatever. So they picked a UFO meeting when I was at work, and it was in Manhattan. I'm like, give me something closer, Westchester. They found a UFO group there. So I went there, and when you're sitting there with like 30 people, and this person telling one story, the other person telling another story, it's kind of like being in an actual X-Files, scene where you always have those people in therapy around you.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say it. And there are people that believe what they're saying, but not necessarily are seeing anything, and they do need help. This is part of the criteria of, like, when you have somebody like, that is telling you something, there are certain questions you have to ask in a real investigation. You have to know where the phase of the moon is, where Jupiter is, where Saturn is. Now it's Starlink crap, because people are contacting me out of the woodwork. Dude, I saw this. And that you see that every so many feet. It looks like a pearl necklace on an angle.
Yeah.
It's Starlink.
Starlink.
And like one guy was like, and I, he's a good guy. He's like, well, I checked that app, and this was a day or two before or after. I'm like, you never heard of delays, So you start debunking these things, and then you have a couple of situations that are like incredible. So I met this girl who I actually married, and she was working at a camp in Waterbury, Connecticut. I spent most of my life in Winsted, Connecticut. That's where my camp was. So when you start dating a girl and you're into her and you're like, I want to hang out with you. So I went to her camp. So my birthday's in the summer. It's July 4th. And I said, you know what? I want to go up and hang out with some of my camp friends. I know they're going to be there in town. So it was one of those July 4th weekends around 94, 95, something like that, where it was like a true 3-day weekend. And most people start on Friday, right? So it was very, very quiet. So we left about 9 o'clock. We would go up Route 8 north, because that's where to get to the town. And I remember nobody was on the road. Beautiful skies, tons of stars. You're going through the Berkshire Mountains, and this roadway happened to be where I was. I was on the lower end of this road. There's like an island in the middle, big island, big piece of property, and then some of the roadway goes up, and we're going through it on another end channel. Nobody was on the road, and we get to this one point. I believe it's near Thomaston, and she's like looking, and for people that can't see me or whatever, I'm kind of like peeking out the window, like, what the hell is that? I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, what the hell is that? And it just so happens Thomason has a radio tower in it and has about 4 red lights on it. It's one of the largest radio towers in the area. It's almost a mile long, I think. And I said, that's a radio tower. And she goes, no, that's not a radio tower. So the radio tower is like this, straight. I said, it's a radio tower. And then the radio tower tilts. And then it tilts again. And she's like, that's like suspended there. And then it's flat, like, it's parallel to the roadway and it starts heading towards us. So I'm in my element at this point. I'm like, holy crap, this is great, right?
It's happening.
It's happening. She wasn't a believer. She used to make fun of all the crap, Oh, the UFOs took your underwear, like whatever. And this thing comes over my car. I'm in a 92 Integra, doing about 70 miles an hour down this road, and it's just right above us. And it was, to express how big this was, I always say giant stadium because it was in New York, but picture a football stadium floating at you and hovering over you, right? And she is literally hanging out my moonroof at this point going, what the hell is this? The radio got a little bit, it just shut down. It was, it's like your typical scene in Close Encounters, and then it's done. My car is still going. And I'm saying to myself in my head, Brian, stop the car, stop the car, stop the car. And I'm still going. No one else is on the road. And you could see the edge of this thing in the distance where the stars pick up and then this thing stops. And I'm looking, and all around me is just like this gunmetal black. And if you were standing outside, you wouldn't even noticed it. It blended in perfectly. And as I'm driving, I'm thinking about stopping the car, and I'm looking up and driving. And I catch a little light coming to me on the other side that's heading south, which is a little bit elevated. I turn away for a split second to make sure it's not coming at me. It's a regular car. Turn back. This thing is gone. I jam on the brakes. I literally fishtail, stop my car on Route 8 in the middle of the damn road, get out of the car, and I'm looking 360 degrees around me. It is gone.
Whoa.
And I'm like, she's just like, she goes, it's gone. I said, you just had one of the greatest UFOs experiences of your life. And to this day, she goes, no, it was a weather balloon.
She just refused to accept it.
Yeah, no. Well, I don't think she wants to accept it. So, that was a great experience, but they just keep getting better and better. There was, I have a ton of footage that I filmed myself. We went down to the Jersey Shore. I can send you links to all these, and then you can throw them up if you want. We went to the Jersey Shore, and it was my aunt's house, and she lived in Shark River. So she had a nice swimming pool. So my youngest was there. She's like 3 or 4 years old, swim in the backyard, whatever. And we're there, and I see this really weird object in the sky. And it kind of looks like someone released balloons. You ever see balloons high up?
Sure.
So I'm seeing this, but it looks like 3 balloons connected, or a garbage bag, but in like a round shape. And I'm like, you see that? And she goes, yeah. What? She goes, it's probably balloons. I'm thinking about that. Then you hear fighter jets in the distance because Brick Naval Base is there, and they'll have jets there, and they actually patrol. There's a Southern Command over there in Jersey, which would patrol. But you hear that, the whistle of the jet, and as it gets stronger and it's coming towards us, this thing kind of fades away and disappears, and then the jets come by. You can see the jets circle around. Then they take off. And as soon as they take off, it comes back. So I have some of this on video. And, I'm questioning this. I'm like, what the hell is this? I use a little small Sony camera, waterproof camera. And when I got the video home, I was trying to say, well, don't you think it's strange? And I stopped. Then my wife picked up, you mean like strange that the jets came in and the thing disappeared? I'm like, yeah. That's not how balloons work or operate, right? And this happened a couple of times. And the jets would come back, and this thing would disappear or cloak. And as soon as they left, they'd come back. So I have like a minute or two of a video of this thing. It looked like the Glock, which is the bell, the German bell of the UFOs. If you know anything about that, the Germans were building a UFO. They did build a UFO back in World War II towards the end. And there's some footage of this. It's called the bell. And they have it flying and moving around. And this is exactly what it looked like. It had that bell shape to it. It also looked like the Kecksburg UFO, which is kind of looks like an acorn. But this had like an acorn within like a little bit more of an acorn around it. And that was a great encounter. I wish I had a better camera, but I didn't. So I mean, these are all the ones I'm chalking up, writing them down. And then at that group, I met a guy there, and he was starting a paranormal group. And so I joined it. He wanted me to join. So I joined it, and we started investigating ghosts. We started investigating everything, actually. We investigated cryptids because he's had experience upstate New York with cryptids. He's had numerous UFO experiences. And it's very interesting. When I had that UFO encounter with my soon-to-be wife, where she says it's a weather balloon, I believe, if I'm correct, it's the same year that down Route 8, if you take Route 8 from Connecticut all the way down, it hits the Merritt Parkway. My buddy Al lived over in Bridgeport and was coming back from his work. So he takes the Merritt Parkway coming back from the city. And he says, all these cars are there and they're all shut down. And all of a sudden his car shut down. He's like, what the hell is this? And all these cars are backed up. So he sees a cop up ahead and he starts walking, not paying attention. And he goes, what the hell's going on? And the cop goes, look. And he looks up and he said, it looked like the Roman Colosseum was above my head. There's a huge craft there. And it's hovering without a sound. And he's in awe. So the cops calling it, it's there, it's on 8, it's on 8. They called in the military, probably the same base by there's a base over in that area of the northwestern Connecticut, Massachusetts. And they scrambled jets. Jets came in, and this thing went and shot up. And the minute it shot up, all these cars started going again. So there may have been a connection to that, but you find out that when you meet certain people and you start investigating with people and you meet individuals that are also interested in the subject, there's no coincidence. You were supposed to meet. It's just pre-designed to be met.
So the thing that you mentioned earlier was like hotspots, and it seems like UFOs tend to show up in the same places over and over again. What are some common features of these hotspots? A lot of times people will talk about, well, there's nuclear testing in the area, or there's a nuclear power plant in the area. Is there something about atomic energy that brings UFOs or alien craft to those sites?
100%. So, there's military bases that they're attracted to, and there are a lot of military bases that are unknown, but they're there, even in plenty of rural areas, or in even kind of city-based areas throughout the world, especially if you have like a nuclear missile silo. So if you go to Mattawa, I believe it is, New Jersey, there was an old missile silo there. So wherever there's going to be military activity, they're interested. And they're watching what we're doing. They know that we have nuclear capability. And what's interesting about nuclear capability and their interest in it is, one, it is a viable power source for them to recharge their batteries for whatever they're using. Two, they know not only is it an engine fuel, which will generate heat and all that other stuff, but that reaction there, I believe, can be used in many instances on a larger scale, depending on how many megatons you're using, to help facilitate breaks in timelines. A lot of breaks in timelines. And they may be watching what's going on interdimensionally. So they see things or opportunities interdimensionally. They could use that source. Other things come out of interdimensional and timelines. You can do it with extreme energy expulsion, like a nuclear blast. Once you get to the atomic age, you're very close to other ages, real fusion, quantum mechanics. So this is why they're interested in it. But they also have, I would say, a vested interest in the human beings that are here. And from my personal research, they're not here, all of them, for goody two shoes. We're going to help the humans out. No, it's more that they're here to, one, facilitate a breeding program to get their species back up, because most of the species, the variety of different species, they've destroyed their lines. There are not many of them left. And so they're coming here to do the breeding thing. If you take in bio in school and you have like X and Y, and then you do X to Y, and you do a breeding process, they usually give you a grid. So you'll have XX, YY, then XY, and then YX. And you eventually could breed the human out and keep the alien in, because we have a DNA in a sequence and also junk DNA, which is the perfect ground or foundation to build life from, even extraterrestrial life.
Just like they put the frog DNA to make the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah, it's really weird, but yeah, it's very much like that. And that's why they're going to some of these hotspots. Some of these hotspots are portals. These are known portals. You may not be able to visually see them, but you can go interdimensional through it. They're also kind of like time traveling portals. They'll open up, you can go in and come out. And they're all over the world, usually around ley lines. That's why the ley lines are so, everybody, all this really weird crap happens. I think you did something about the 36th or 37th parallel. That is a weird line in the sand. A lot of odd stuff happens on both ends of that parallel. And there's something to it. It's not just mineral, there's energy involved in it. And that's why they're interested in it.
So
that's
you
go
were
ahead.
saying about the nuclear energy. Do you think that it's more of like a primitive jumpstart for them, since I'm assuming that they're not using nuclear energy to do their, what I mean? But you think it's like more of like okay, this is something we can get by with to like jumpstart our craft?
I mean, I really do think that there's certain elements on a scale of, the elements of the charts that they need certain things to create fuel. You'll see them over active volcanoes. You'll see them over fault lines. You'll see them in major storms. There's energy to be gotten from it. And if you even research Tesla, his energy right now, he basically created wireless charging, because you're pulling energy from the earth, which is there, and you're using it, the charge. But these little events, like a nuclear silo, nuclear missile, fusion reactor, well, I'm getting a lot more energy from it. Do you want to try to start your car with a 9-volt battery or a 12-volt battery?
Yeah.
Or a dry cell, I mean, like, we're gonna have to do this a couple times, kids. Let's go. But I think that's part of it. Also, I've always had that. I don't know if you ever watched Star Trek, but there was the one where they go back to Earth just when they get to that warp drive speed. And I think, and then they get greeted, welcome to the warp, that speed. They get greeted by the Council, the Federation. I personally don't believe there's a Federation of aliens sitting around waiting for us to get to a certain level so they can welcome us into the Federation. And while they're waiting, they can't figure out if they want to order Chinese or pizza. I always had this comical vision of I try to get my buddy Hector to do a graphic of like all these different aliens. Like, before we let the humans in, is it Chinese or pizza tonight? So, I don't think it's that, but I think they're watching our baby steps, and they also know that it's dangerous material. So think about it. If I need human beings untouched, their DNA to create and do biological experiments and create, more alien or hybrids or whatever, I can't let you destroy yourselves with the radiation, right? So I have to keep an eye on what you're doing. Hopefully.
So hopefully they're going to have to step in and be like, all right, enough is enough.
There's a couple, there's a side of this community that believes that they're going to step in and they're going to stop X, Y, and Z. I'm not necessarily in that category. I believe that they are in it for themselves. Well, there's select ones. There are some that are greedy SOBs. They're nasty. They're very warring. Those would be the reptilians, praying mantis, those type of extraterrestrials. But there are also some that are just, they're not here to hurt us. They're kind of studying us, and they are using our DNA. It's really weird. Did you know that you have to get permission from governments around the world to breach the atmosphere? Like Elon Musk to get up there, he had to get approval. And the reason why is if you actually breach that, you're going to see literally an armada of different ships facing each other like a big, stalemate. And they're all there and everybody knows who's who. And they're checking on their people down there as well, the Earthlings, and kind of like it keeps one group from doing something stupid.
Mutually assured destruction.
Kind of that, but they don't want the destruction. They don't let them get too aggressive. And of course, you probably heard about the agreement that Eisenhower made way back in the 50s, exchanging technology for allowing them to abduct certain individuals, and that's still in play. Even Eisenhower's granddaughter was talking about it. So, but you got to be careful who you're dealing with, right?
That is true, and one of the things that is constantly plaguing my mind about craft, and it's kind of something that you touched on a little bit, is that we buy new cars pretty frequently.
Yep.
The new models come out all the time, but they all have some common features, right? The four wheels, the cab, the engine,
the XM, leather.
Yeah. So you have this kind of very common structure to vehicles. UFOs, are they like that too, where you see new models every year, but they all have kind of the common features?
Well, I definitely believe that there are technology advances. I also believe that because there's so much energy here from a variety of different species, that it's a signal that's being picked up by other species that may have other type of craft. So you have light beings, you have ultra terrestrials, you have interdimensionals, you have extraterrestrials, and they're just picking up on some of the, the radioactive, well, not radioactive waste, but there's a certain signature that some of these craft give off. I equate the deal that whoever these extraterrestrials are gave the U.S. So to equivalent of giving the U.S. a Yugo, and now they have like the brand new Corvette.
Yeah,
it's like, we don't need that.
That they gave us a Yugo.
Well,
I know we got to build up to it, but
that's where we get into something else is very important. And this is about sightings of UFOs. So when you extraterrestrials, no matter if they're interdimensionals, they've been here before or spent millions of years on this planet, or they're coming now, or vice versa. They don't make their presence known. often. They do use cloaking to keep their business their business. Now I see it in a lot of cloud formation. So you'll see like this weird cloud that's just there, but it has a 90-degree like angle in the cloud. They're not great at it. So, you know, when you look at some of the craft, when you see a craft, or I'm going to put it out there, I believe every triangle UFO, that black triangle UFO, is US based, US made. It's reverse engineered. They've gotten to the point where they're good at it, and their technology is constantly advancing. Not as far as these other alien craft, but we're about 150 years ahead of anybody on this planet. And they're able to create these anti-gravity machines and be able to harness the weaponry, direct energy weapons, and they're doing exactly what they wanted to do with it. They reversed engineered the Yugo, and they're jazzing it up. Like, oh, it's a combustion engine. Okay, let's go try to make something that will do it more powerful.
Now we're up to a Honda.
Now we're up to about like a Shelby Mustang, but it still doesn't matter. They're light years ahead of us.
Yeah.
And the problem also is humanity has been super aggressive through everything we do. So,
you think with what the government's doing right now and telling us, and there's more and more stories coming out that is this a smokescreen that they're doing, or do you think we're actually that close that we're going to get our first? They're going to show up and say, "We are here for real."
Okay, so
yeah, I think you're referring to the Grush hearings. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Well, he's that whole ATIP, blah blah blah. What's his name? To the Stars Academy with Mr. Bullshit 182. Tom DeLonge. I mean, like, he is.
Yeah.
Tom is the Lee Harvey Oswald of the UFO community. He is a patsy. And if you want, everybody wants this disclosure, right? And I think they want this disclosure because whoever's screaming the loudest is the person that was like ridiculed, for believing in UFOs. And they want that "I told you so" moment. But I guess, they're not paying attention to the fact that disclosure took place globally in 1977, when in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Dr. Hynek, who is in the movie, who was responsible for Project Blue Book and debunking UFOs, but he couldn't, stood there while a craft came down on Devil's Tower, opened up, and a gray ET came out, and then we started exchanging ETs for humans. And all he did was stand there and pull that pipe out and look at it. That's your disclosure, that we've been doing this with them for many, many years. This hearing, first of all, the videos that they started with the Tic Tac and the Nimitz, I saw those videos years prior to them making a big deal out of it. It's interesting stuff, but I equate that to our dark projects, our DARPA projects, our black budget, where we're creating these craft and we're now testing it on our military. And that's what it is. I think this is a dog and pony show. I think possibly a PSYOP operation. The big boy involved in this, Lou Elizondo, he is literally, his job in life, and I thank him because he works for the U.S. government, is disinformation. So if a guy's giving you all this information, but yet still retains his security clearance, you don't think they're lying to you?
Yeah.
Because if he lost his security clearance and he was threatened with jail, which you should be if you're really telling the truth, look what happened to Bob Lazar. He lost everything, right? Mm-hmm. But everybody's believing this guy, Lou. Oh, but I still maintain, I'm part of this. I'm like, no. It's the same thing with the people that believe Dr. Greer. I'm not a big fan of Dr. Greer. But this is and it's somewhat of a cult with so many people being so like, they defend this man to the death. But how does a guy who's a nobody, I'm just a doctor in Boston. Well, how do you give briefings to the president of the United States if you're a nobody?
It doesn't happen.
Because you're not just
you
a
don't.
doctor. You're working for the government. Get it? So I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors taking place. It's a great way to distract from other events. And also, I really wasn't thinking where Project Blue Beam would come in, where they would make a fake alien invasion, kill a lot of people, then make it like that everybody unites under a one world government and they save the world and there's no more religion and the rapture takes place and we kill those aliens. I didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't think people would be smart enough to go for it. But if you look at 7D, 8D technology where they can make a freaking beluga whale float in front of your face and looks exactly like a real thing, they can definitely do this. And we've seen the effects of direct energy weapons recently in certain areas. Canadian wildfires, little place in the Pacific that used to be beautiful. So maybe they're putting that smoke and mirrors in there to scare the hell out of the public and telling everybody, well, their technology is better than ours and we can't do anything about it. Ooh, let's get scared. And then they conduct an event and then you want the protection of the government. That's what I think is going on. I mean, people don't want to believe it. People don't like that. And, and I really don't, I'd like to believe there's a group of extraterrestrials are going to come in the last minute and, freeze everything and wave their magic fingers and everything go back to perfect. And it's not going to happen that way.
I think if they had tried Project Blue Beam before the COVID pandemic, they might have had better luck with it. But they burned up a lot of credibility.
Boy who cried wolf.
Yeah. They burned through a lot of credibility.
Yep.
And to the extent that when they started dropping all the UFO stuff, they were released, the Navy's releasing their videos, Air Force is releasing their videos. And then they started with the hearings this year. Everyone just kind of collectively shrugged and said, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, they wanted a client list. They didn't want to hear about UFOs.
Exactly.
We'll leave it like that because I don't want you guys to get burnt on, they pay attention to what you put out.
Yeah, that's true.
Whatever. So yeah, and not for nothing with Grush, but everything he told you, everything is hearsay.
Yep. 100%.
And we don't even know the people he talked to if that's hearsay. No one's the only people that have produced bodies is the Mexican government, and it looks like a tres leche cake.
Yeah, someone was back there with the piñatas.
Yeah. But I mean, they're legit. They are legit, and there's some really interesting stuff that comes out of South America. But extraterrestrials, your disclosure will take place when they want to disclose it. They don't need your government's permission. They don't need any of that stuff. I mean, I've been doing this for 40 plus years. Okay. And 2015, I had my first missing time experience. We did a Bigfoot investigation. We did a high strength investigation at this lake in upstate New York. We had a Bigfoot encounter, big time Bigfoot encounter. And that Bigfoot was no more than 20 feet from us. And that Bigfoot did 3 whoops. There was 3 of us. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And went did the first 2 whoops, whoop, whoop. And then the third whoop was 2 miles down the road at the other end of the lake. And at that point, I changed my whole assessment of that creature from being flesh and blood to interdimensional. That this creature has the ability to open up a door, step in it, and come out wherever the hell he wants. There's no way you can go point A to point B in an instant without being able to do that. Okay, that's one. And maybe at a later date, I can go into the explain why. After that encounter, we're going to the next location. We have a UFO that we see. Well, actually, it's my buddy Al, me, and this guy Bill, and we're walking to the next location. We're at the top of the lake. You can see the whole night sky. Stars are out. It's beautiful. Some moon. We see an orangish glowing object that's moving from the right, and it just starts moving across the screen. And I go, "What is that?" And it stops, and it comes right at us. And after that, we get a beam. We get, you can hear this like melody with it, and like a, like a metal melody with like a vibration or machining noise. And we had missing time at that point. We did a time check, which we always do, like time check, 9:15, and then the next time check we got, it seemed like it didn't last. The 2 hours were missing. Maybe it was 2 minutes, and I'm videotaping it on my camera, and it's not one of those where after like 2 minutes it shuts off and then you have to make another video. It's unlimited video, and I have plenty of space. And this thing ends at about 1 minute, and then the next thing you know, we're like 2 minutes away from the next camp. We get there, set up, we do some stuff, and then we ask, we got to call our psychic. And my buddy Al goes, "You get a time check?" And I said, 11:45. Well, he's like, "That can't be." Because it only took us, we were there 9:15. We probably got to the campsite 9:25. And there's no way we're doing more stuff for like that kind of time. There's no way. So we had missing time at that point.
Wow.
And then the other time, which is really interesting. Actually, after that event, we did, I don't know if you know about Pine Bush, New York. It's where Whitley Strieber used to have his house. And it's basically the Area 51 of the East Coast. Lots of UFO encounters, lots of high strangeness. Yeah, it's a ton of different type of activity. Whitley Strieber, of course, had communion up there. We did the Pine Bush UFO Festival, and we did a couple of presentations during the day. Like they were, we did 3 15-minute, 3 half an hour, and 3 hour presentations. We were wiped out after the end of the day, but we promised to do a close encounter of the fifth kind, which is an active encounter. So it was late. We were hoping nobody would show up, and we said, okay, we'll do it in that town. And we did it at this place called Alice Court. It's where they had like their town soccer field, baseball field. So it was pitch black. It's perfect. We got there. There was at least 75 people there, like men, women, children, families. Like, oh, okay. And then another 40, 50 people joined us. And I conducted a CE5 there. And we brought a huge craft in. It appeared right over our heads.
How did you get it?
So what you do is in a close encounter, you use anybody can do this, by the way. You kind of like clear your mind of all the crap for the day, and you say, we want to have an interaction with you. Can you please make your presence known? And we don't want any harm to come to anybody. We just want to see you and maybe interact with you. And I'm kind of getting people in a group meditation to kind of like, okay, clear your head of all the days, because it was a fair that day, UFO fair. And we started, we knew where the air traffic was in the distance. You can see a couple of mountains in the distance, probably about 50 miles out, or 25 to 50 miles out. And I started hearing this. I don't want to say, I sound so old when I say it, hoot and hollering. And it sounded like it was coming from the baseball field. And I'm like, okay, there's not much to do in this town. And if I was, a kid 16, I'd be drinking in the park too. Okay. Exactly. Right. And I'm turning to my buddy Al, just about to say, hey, do you hear that hoot and hollering going on? Some other guy comes out of the woods and goes, did you hear that owl? And I said, well, I was just about to hear the hoot and hollering. And then in an instant, right above our head was this, again, like gunmetal black. It blent into the sky. But in the center, and the craft, the width of this area was acres. And the center was a big white dome. And you can see the like hexagonal, like thing that's holding it in. It was a light, and everybody went ballistic. Oh my God, oh my God. So we started signaling it like my buddy would signal it, Morse code. Can you repeat? Boom, boom, boom. And it would do it, boom, boom, boom. Then I said to it, can you go out to the mountains out there and do some maneuvers? And in an instant, it went out. Like, it was super fast. It went bing. It was out at the mountains, started doing 90-degree turns, like making like geometric shapes in an instant, super fast. Then it came back and we're like, whoa, that's great. And then it disappeared. And then we asked it, wait, can you come back one more time? And then it appeared, it responded to us, and that was it. And it was amazing.
Were you using like a sound system? Like how were you were just calling out to it?
You're just using your voice and you're saying, we're here to, thank you for appearing, because the way it works in life is technically past, present, and future happen at the same time.
Yeah.
And time is an earth construct, right? So we create time. Time is meaningless. There's no time in the real world or in the galaxy or in the source of information. So they hear your thoughts. Your consciousness is what connects. They know what you're thinking. They're connected to you. So you don't have to use like a PA system, can you please, off the babysitter. You don't need that. You can literally talk to them and they understand. They'll do it. And they do it. It's kind of hard to explain, but they connect with you. It's not like we're not getting a telepathic message. Some people will get images in their head. Some people may have already been an abductee and unknown, and they're somehow connected to this. But we were saying, can you go out to the mountains? And people appreciated it. And the energy level, so many people, everybody was so happy. Like it was, let me tell you something. Even when I can do this, and I've done this several times, I'm still like, holy crap.
Yeah.
I can't, but then again, I can remote view. So, and I still say, how the hell am I doing that? But you're tapping into the universe. And that's how they hear you.
You ever tried to ask for a ride home instead of like getting an Uber?
No, I don't do Ubers either, but many extraterrestrials probably drive those damn things. But no, I don't. Growing up, I'm like, oh, it'd be so cool to be abducted. I'm like, I don't really want to be abducted. The second time actually was about 2.5 years ago. I was moving. We were looking at places in Florida. So I was driving. It's during that COVID event and the pandemic. And I was driving from New York down to Florida. So I would stop initially at Fayetteville. And we stayed over the first night. And then I realized that if you go an hour further into Florence, South Carolina, you cut off an hour, but it's tremendous on the other end driving down, right? I believe that hour at, almost makes it like 2 hours. You don't have to drive. So we're coming down. I have 2 daughters and we're in the car. And I'm using Waze. And it's like 20 to 11 or 11:30. I mean, 20 to 12, 11:30 or something like that. And the Waze is giving me, get off here, get off this exit, which is the same exit I got from my hotel. It's bypassing me because they closed the damn highway down. Like, who the hell closes 95 down? It's a major artery, right? So at that point, my wife is just passed out in the car. My kids are sleeping. So I get off and they put me on this Route 301. It's a rural road. And I got to be honest, I wanted a cigarette. I've been driving for hours. I got to stretch my legs. So I said, you know what? It's a country road, Route 301. It's 2 lanes. It goes through some countrysides. You get the farms and the crops growing. It's a beautiful night. And I pull off to the side of the road, shut the inner light off, keep the car running, and I close the door so it doesn't, alert or wake anybody up because they're sleeping or whatever. And not having the key in the ignition, well, it'll always beep in the car. So as I'm smoking a cigarette, I notice up in the sky a very strange object, changing blue, orange, yellow, green, purple, white burst. And I'm like, that's not, that's not your typical planet or galaxy. And it's getting a little bit bigger and it's spinning. And the way it spins, if you've ever taken a quarter or a hula hoop, when you watch it spin, and as it spins, eventually it'll set down to the bottom. It kind of makes this like really weird shape, but on its way settling. That's what this object's doing, but it's changing blue, orange, yellow, green, purple, burst. It's getting closer, and I'm like, wow, I wish I had my psionic, camera here. I'd be videotaping this. This is a total UFO vibe to it. But part of me in the back of my head is I'm near Fayetteville, which is where Fort Bragg is. And I'm like, oh, it could be a drone. Doesn't look like a drone, but it could be. And I'm smoking a cigarette. And the next thing I know, I'm in my car. And I don't remember getting in my car. And I'm like, did I just fall asleep on the side of the road? And I look up. Mind you, by the time I was, finished with my cigarette, it was maybe 10 to 12. So from where I am down to Florence, it should be no more than an hour. So the Waze goes, do you want to continue? I say, yep. Click on it. And then I look and I see you'll arrive it tells you when you'll be at your destination. It says you'll be at your destination at 4 a.m. And I'm like, what the F just happened? So at that point, it was like quarter to 12 or 10 to 12. And somehow I should be there no later than 1, but now I'm going to be there at 4. So I'm like, okay, what the hell just happened here? And I pull up at 4 a.m. And of course I got to explain this to the wife. Why is it so late? I'm saying, well, they shut down the highway. Okay. Go in. My youngest and my oldest sleep in one bed. We sleep in the other bed. Get up. And my youngest goes, I'm still perplexed thinking what the heck was going on. I shouldn't be missing time. I don't remember sleeping, whatever. I'm helping my youngest get dressed. She is about 10 years old. She goes, Dad, can you help me with my shirt? Sure. She takes off her shirt, and on her shirt and on the mattress is a little speck, looks like blood from her back. And I'm like, what the heck is this? I said, turn around. I just want to make sure, I can't talk to her about it. She'll freak out. And on her back, on her right shoulder blade, is a BB scoop mark. Like if you press the BB in there. And that's roughly where that blood on the shirt is, which is on the mattress. So I'm like, okay. She's like, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing. Get in the car. We go down to Florida. We're hanging out. We're looking at the place. And the place we finally bought in, we happen to know people that live around the corner. The development. We're go hanging out with them. And you can see some palm trees. And it was about dusk. And then I get this ringing in my right ear. And every moment since I've gotten it, I just look up. And I look up in the sky. And what's there? An object that's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet burst. It's the same damn thing. And I look up like, I see you there. I got you. Yeah, it's like, yo, what's up? And so we stay there for a couple more days. We go back to New York and we meet one of my wife's friends for lunch. So she has her daughter and I have my 2 daughters, and we go out to this lunch. So I tell her, listen, I'm going to go inside, use the restroom. And when I come out, I'll just pay the bill. Sure. So I pay the bill and I come out, and my wife is standing there holding my oldest nose. Now you got to understand something. My oldest child, she's just like, she's like a horse. She doesn't get sick. She doesn't have, she doesn't get sick. She doesn't get allergies. I don't know. I mean, it's amazing. Doesn't complain, doesn't get, I go, what the heck's going on? She goes, she had a nosebleed. My daughter doesn't have a nosebleed. So I go, yeah. And like, he goes, this came out. And I kid you not, she pulls out a square of paper. It's kind of like a gauze size square, like 1 inch, 1 1/4 inch by 1.5 inch. And it's about the thickness of like 2 pieces of paper together, about that thick. And I'm looking at this damn thing and I'm like, that came out of her nose? He goes, yeah. I said, did you put anything in your nose? No, I didn't put anything in my nose. I don't know where that came from.
Intergalactic gauze.
Well, because if it was COVID, I ran, and didn't always have these rubber gloves. So I had a boatload of sandwich bags, right? So you turn them inside out, they're rubber gloves. So I said, I'll take it. And I went in my pocket because I kept carrying them, and I took it because I know somebody who works at one of the universities. I wanted to do the DNA on it, the test. First of all, they could do it as a project. I don't have to pay for it. It's like I don't have $20,000 to do DNA sampling, And I took it home, packed it up. I went to put I think I went to put it in the freezer, but something kept coming on where I couldn't handle it properly. And by the time I actually went to it to figure it out, it dried out and became powdery, and it just like dissolved. So I missed out on that. So that was my second missing time episode, and that was really, really bizarre. But look, if you want to take me, I'm an adult, right? Don't mess with my kids.
Yeah.
But it just so happens we're all O on the bloodline, and some are O negative, some are O positive. So it's a rare blood type, and it's not the RH factor. That's everybody's like, oh, he's RH negative. Like that has nothing to do with it. It's not RH. It's the blood type. The rarer the blood type, the more you're going to be a candidate for abduction, because O being the universal type, you want that. That's where you can do whatever you want with it, right? So that was my second.
So yeah. I want to back up a little bit.
Do whatever you want. I'm your Huckleberry.
So you guys said you're at this thing and you got all these people together. You guys. So what is this process? You clear your mind.
Okay. So want to know that? Okay. So the way I do it, I don't follow anybody's protocol but my own. Mm-hmm. So I recommend you go out with more than one person. Don't just do this on your own. For multiple reasons. Don't take any drugs beforehand. You want to be serious, and you want to set your intentions as good. Mm-hmm. You're here under the attention, and you're each one of you have to think of it. You have to start breathing, get into almost like a yoga or meditation type of thing where you're saying, and you say in your mind, I'm here to have to have a sighting or an experience with extraterrestrials that are visiting this planet. I don't want to be harmed. I don't mean you will harm. We just want to have an interaction with you. Can you please make your presence known? And you keep saying that in your mind's eye and your head, like you're talking to yourself. And that's how it starts. It's all about intention. So if you have a positive intention, people respond to positive intentions better. Entities respond to it. This person is now ready to accept having some kind of interaction. Now, you may not have a grandiose like that where a craft is hovering above your head, probably no more than a 10-story building. That's how low this thing was. By the way, the chief of the police of the town was there. He will not talk to anybody about it. Wow. But when he retires, I'm going to ask him. Yeah. You're retired now.
Is it better to do it like away from the city? Like
I think it would be better to do it in an area where there's not that much air traffic. Mm-hmm. So you can discern what you're looking at. Okay. And every area has its own air traffic pattern, like east to west. All the flights go the same way, right? Yeah. If you have east to west, and the next thing you're seeing north to south come in, chances are you're seeing something that is unidentified. Now, I would keep on me. They make satellite apps that will tell you military satellites versus commercial. So then if you see that there's a satellite that looks like 3 dots, it looks like a triangle. It's a naval satellite. There are 3 satellites going at once. So but I would set my intentions there, and it's kind of like stargazing. Mm-hmm. But you're all one person be the leader and say, okay, now let's focus and send that energy out there. We want to have an interaction with you. We want to see you. Can you please make your presence known? And then you'll have is, if they so choose to do it, they may do a starburst thing for you to make you see it. or they, depends if what mood they're in. They may even hover above your head. So that's how it works. It's all intention.
So,
You
like,
go in there.
You live here in Arizona, so would it be better for us to go to like Sedona to do it? Because Sedona.
I think it's a little pretentious, Sedona. I really do. It's like, and why do you want to spend all the money on that? That's just like a waste. Yeah, I should have been in Arizona, but then I met my wife.
Damn it.
Well, yeah, I wanted to buy the biosphere and make it into a fat farm. I went to the biosphere on a tour, and all I heard was, yeah, and they couldn't grow their own food. Everybody lost like 60 pounds. I'm like, holy crap, I can make a lot of money with fat people. That's what I thought. I mean, seriously, we're going to lock you in here for 60 days, Mrs. Jones. Okay. You look fabulous. But yeah, I mean, you have certain spots. I don't know what part of Arizona. Are you northern? Are you southern, western?
Phoenix, right in the
We're
middle.
in Phoenix.
Oh, you're in Phoenix. Okay. Yeah, my cousin wanted me. I got accepted to University of Arizona State. And I went to Tucson to do that school. And then she wanted to drive to Phoenix to see the freaking zoo, and everything in your zoo is dead. She took 2 steps in and she's like, I'm done. She got some big Coke and sat in front of a mister. There's a spot between that. Like, what I would do is, if you want to do something, I would drive that. I think is it Route 10 or it goes to north? Okay.
It's I-17.
Take that road. Yeah, take that road down a
nice.
little bit. Ooh, I'm kind of, that was weird.
You're green screening.
No, yeah, that's weird. Maybe I don't exist. Maybe this is the Matrix. I would take that down to a spot where the city lights, you can see them in the distance, and then you can see the stars. The side of the road, there's got to be places over there. Not by the prison that's there, though. There's a prison near there.
Oh, you're talking about Florence.
Yeah, I don't know.
About Florence.
I don't know, but there's a great sign that I took a picture of, like hitchhiking. It says, "Do not pick up hitchhikers."
Yeah.
They made my cousin take a picture of me there. Said, but you want to be in an area where it's like dark enough where you're going to see the stars, and what's going on in the celestial bodies, and go there with a couple of people and just try it. Just sit there, shut the trucks off, put your chairs out, and just like kind of focus, and you'll know where the air traffic patterns are. And start doing it. And the more you do it, the more you start vibrating or focusing, and you're connecting your brain, body, mind, the more you're going to have more experiences with it. Now, you very well could get abducted if you haven't been abducted already. I'm not responsible for any of that crap.
If it happens, you're going to be the first person I call.
Well, you can call. I mean, I would love to hear about it. My brother just moved to Arizona, so I'm like, but I mean, I don't remember anything. And one of my good friends who's out in northwestern part of the U.S., Derek Tyler, multiple abductee. I showed him the video. Actually, the video I sent you guys in private chat. I don't know if they'll let me do it in the comment section because YouTube becomes crazy after a while. But I said, "What do you take of this?" He goes, "You were downloaded." And I said, "What?" He goes, "You were downloaded. You definitely were downloaded." I said, "Well, we were thinking about getting regress." He goes, "How do you sleep?" And I go, "What do you mean? I have a hard time sleeping." He goes, No. How do you sleep when you sleep? You sleep okay? Or I said, "Yeah, I don't have. You have any nightmares?" No. He goes, "Then don't get regress, because once you open that, you'll never sleep again." So I'm not into getting regressed. And I always say this, and it's a joke, but it's true. If I have extraterrestrial hybrid children, babies, whatever, I just want their social security number so I can get the social security break. Other than that, my kids, I want to declare them on my taxes. It says here you have 3 kids from Zeta Reticuli. Yes, I do. I don't see them often. They're with their mother. But other than that, it's weird. The more you start doing this stuff, the more you start meditating, the more you start practicing that kind of consciousness of positive intentions with whatever you're doing, you're going to start having other experiences. It's not just extraterrestrial. You'll vibrate at different frequencies. You're going to see things differently. You may actually have encounters with beasts, Sasquatch or other. I forgot there is something in in the Arizona area. I forgot the name of it though.
Chupacabras.
No, you don't want chupacabras. No, you don't want chupacabra. You don't want Wendigo. You don't want skinwalkers. You want to stay the hell away from all three of those. Even dogmen, which are like, basically the same. It's like a Bigfoot. It's a werewolf. But you may have interactions. You may be able to see portals. You may have your life's going to change and for the better. But be prepared. It's a really weird experience when you start having them.
It sounds like the thing you're describing sounds like changing your vibrational frequency. We get that a lot.
Yeah.
When we're talking to psychics and telling us when we're trying to hunt ghosts and stuff. That was a lot of the same type of advice that they gave us to accurately connect with ghosts. And we do hear that a lot. The vibrational, you got to change your either raise it or lower your vibrational frequency, and
never want to lower it. Never ever lower it, but always raise it. And you're going to hear it from psychics. I do, as you can, in my bio, I do remote viewing, and our psychic is in Arkansas, and she knows that I have abilities, and I call it remote viewing because I'm comfortable calling it remote viewing. But she says, "You're psychic like me," and I'm like, "No, I'm a remote viewer. You're psychic like me," whatever. So what happens is once you start doing that, and I wasn't into that whole higher vibration, like I can't do guided meditation. I cannot. I don't want to hear anybody. I'll do it myself. I use binaural beats. You get them on the phone, or and you listen to it. You get into a certain groove. Once you start doing it, so I started doing remote viewing, and from that begot other abilities that will open up. We all have these abilities. You don't want to go lower because lower is not where you want to be. You want to be on the positive, the higher side, to have an interaction with a spirit, to have that, don't do a Zach Baggins thing. That's going to get you into a lot of trouble. You don't want to do it. Would you, how about that? If I came into your house and I just started calling you like, whatever, and I just started, really going at you, are you going to be happy that I'm there, or are you going to be pissed off, get the hell out of my house?
Pissed.
Right. But if I came over and your favorite thing is, I don't know, Kraken rum, and I brought over 3 bottles, like, dude, look, and I got some food, you're going to be like, okay, let's chat.
Yeah.
So when you raise your vibration higher, better things happen. They know that you evolve, actually. When you go lower, you devolve. You don't want to be anywhere near that hell, demonic, evil that's out there. It's really bad for you. I don't know if you're talking about kids before. You definitely don't want to do it if you have kids. It's not cute. It's not fun. And you're going to open yourself up to something that it's messed up, and it's hard to get rid of it, especially if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely don't know what I'm doing. And we did a ghost hunt one time, and I refer to this a lot because I think it describes my physicality, my physical interaction with the spiritual realm. The psychic on the ghost hunt said, "You are a closed circuit." I'm not getting any energy coming in or out of you. You are a closed circuit.
You're not necessarily closed circuit. You're unsure, so you're not going to venture out the door. You want to peek. You want to peek through the curtain, but you're not ready to go through the door. But if you start having more experiences, you may start opening up a little bit more, and enjoying it. I'm not big into the ghost hunt anymore, and I hate when they call it ghost hunting. It's like we take out a shotgun and like, let's go kill them.
I've got my salt.
To me, it was a lot like you described the Phoenix Zoo.
Yeah.
To me, that's what it felt like. It was like going to the zoo.
Yeah, it's just like you're waiting for something, and then the tigers are there, and I happen to be wearing a watermelon colored polo shirt, right?
Okay.
And the tigers are laying out, like, it's hot for them, like the Sahara, Savannah. And all of a sudden they're like, who's that fat guy in that watermelon colored shirt? And they just started looking at me, and I'm like, we gotta go. Looked at my cousin like, she goes, "What's wrong? We need to leave because if those things jump that wall, I'm a dead man." So I've been on, I don't need to turn the flashlight on, no, I don't need that. I mean, and as you start evolving and you're raising your vibration, you start spiritually and emotionally connecting brain, body, mind, heart, and soul. We all have these psychic abilities. We all have these seeing abilities. I have something called clair audio. Lord, is that the weirdest stuff in the world? That's where it's really, really, it's not, it's where you can hear dead people and you can have conversations. And it's really bizarre. People do have it. They'll, like, if you've ever been something like, I could have sworn I just heard my name called. That's clair audio. And my realization was, excuse me, a couple years ago, one of my really good friends died and I really missed him. And it was like a month or after his funeral. And I was just walking my house and I said, "Damn, Rob, I really do miss you. I hope you're all right." And I heard him say, "Yep, I'm fine. I'm doing good." And I'm like, "Okay, I just made that up." Goes, "No, you didn't." I said, "Did I hear that correctly?" And I heard his voice as if he was in the damn room with me. I said, "It's good to know. I mean, okay, cool. You're good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. All right, I'm happy for you." So I called up someone who I trust as a psychic. It's probably the best one in the world. She is. Her name's Katie Turner. And I go, "This is what happened." And she goes, "Oh my God, you got Claire audio." I'm like, "Well, Claire can have her fucking audio back. I don't want this right now." And because they don't stop, I extend a lot of energy trying to block that. I don't need that. I have my own issues. I've got two daughters. That's more than enough. God's like, "Oh, I'm going to give him another one." Like it's insane. Where I mean, like, and my wife, who's a kindergarten teacher, used to say, like, "I'd rather have 60 boys and one girl." I'm like, "Well, God gave us two. You must have pissed him off." But I do use it. I do readings. I can hear things. I can see things. I can smell things, touch things, taste things. And especially in I still call it remote view, but I know I'm not. I'm more than that. But yeah, you'll get that if you keep practicing.
Yeah. From the chat, Absolute Geek, this is Matt. He says, "What goes into being downloaded? Is that the same as like being probed?"
No, it's if you're talking about probe like the old, anal probe, and I'll explain that to people why men were getting that. Think of this as a scientist needing to get samples. So they're going to pull blood samples from you, they're going to pull urine samples from you, and they need semen samples. And the quickest way to get semen samples, exactly. That's if you're old enough and you go and have the prostate checked.
Well, that's just classic. That's just classic animal husbandry.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's been used in a couple of like Van Wilder or whatever, and a Peter Griffin got one in which was hysterical. "Oh my God, you raped me!" But if they veer off just the slightest bit, you're gonna have a great day at the doctor's office. It's gonna be a little odd, but sorry, doc. That's how they get a sample. But being downloaded means that they are tapping into your consciousness, and they have they talk about read your mind. I don't know if it's telepathy or how it works. They have the ability to download you and then also upload into you information, impressions, formulas, whatever. You'll start
kung fu. Show me.
Well, here's something very interesting. There's a book called Quantum Bigfoot by a friend of mine, Ron Moorhead. And in it, Russians are doing something. There is the ability that you can take, if you can put it into a certain format, you can take the entire language, or a sport like Kung Fu, all the moves, all the muscle movements, everything you need to do, put it into this machine, and they can actually beam it into your brain or DNA or RNA, and you'll know Kung Fu as if you've been a master and you've been studying it for years.
Wow. I would love that instead of having to do Duolingo every night.
Yep, it would be pretty good. I mean, the military uses certain techniques where you'll hear people that have been abducted or experiencers. And what happens is they said they were in a room and they saw a screen and then they just kept flashing different images. And the Air Force actually uses that. One of my friends went through that process. They focus you in an area and they start training you and teaching you memorization through flashes. And it'll like an image. At over time, you actually learn everything. Actually, 100% quicker. There's an app they used to have for tablets, and it only worked on Chrome because I think Chrome is like an OS for it. And you could upload a book in PDF format, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is all you're going to see is a little window, a square window. And it starts off slow. The lazy dog jumped over the moon. Then it speeds up. And before you know it, it's flying through flashing, but you're getting all the words and you've read the whole entire book. This is technology. Yeah. It is really, I mean, it would have been so much more better when I was going to school. Like, damn, I don't want to, I don't want to cram for this test. And not only do you just retain it forever, it's just there. But they've been doing this with images of schematics. There's a guy, he got in trouble. I forgot his name. He actually got arrested. That's how they shut you up with child pornography. Romanek. He talked about element 115 decades before it's even found. He drew detailed graphics of craft and engine, and he said it was all put into his brain right there. So that's the difference between downloaded and probed. Probe, sure. Yeah, I think when you say probed, you're getting the old as they said in the office, better plug the old cornhole, buddy. Yeah, and I don't want to be awake for any of that crap.
Well, we really appreciate your time. Where can people find you? What are the big projects you're working on now?
I'm from a planet far, far away, Sam. No, I'm doing a lot of research. I'm working on a couple of different books at the same time, but I'm trying to rebuild my website because I do screen printing graphics. We do embroidery, hats, and whatever swag you need. But right now I'm just focusing on research, focusing a little bit more on cryptid side of it because I'm in Florida now. I'm trying to get out on a couple of cryptid expeditions for Bigfoot. But I'm found on Twitter, Facebook, or Fascist Book, depending on how you post. Everything, Instagram, Telegram, all of it. I'm there, Bryan Bowden. And if you have any questions or you want my opinion, I will give you my opinion. You may not like what I have to tell you. I'm not here I don't get anything out of, there's no joy in it. If I think it's not real or legit, yeah, I'm going to tell you. But yeah, I can answer any questions and tell them, tell me, hey, I saw you on Thresholds of Reality, and I have a question for this, or what do you think of this? So that's where I'll be at. But I want to see older me, or I am on Discovery Plus and a couple of shows, a lot of UFO stuff. UFO Witness Season 2, Episode 2, Alien Invasion, Hudson Valley UFO, Into the Unknown, and we're not talking about the Disney song. It was with Cliff Simon, specifically the Jersey Devil episode. And I'm trying to do a couple other things right now. Try to get into that. Yeah, that's me. If I'm still up there, apparently I'm under suspension for 90 days. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm a regular at Facebook jail. Just mention my name, you'll get a good bed. So I'm staying away from all the conspiracy stuff, but I'm still doing some research, especially with the DEW's direct energy weapons right now.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, if you come to any conclusions, you will share those with us as well as the world. We would love to see it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that we've become recently very suspicious of. I mean, we've been doing this about a year and a half, almost 2 years now. And the one thing that I know as a result of all of this is that you can't trust the government for anything.
100%. I'll tell you what, if I may be getting out to Arizona sooner than later up there, your neck of the woods. So if I do, I mean, if you guys, I think I told your producer, have them make a friend's request or whatever, so there can be a connection there. I'll meet up with you guys. We'll chat. But you're 100% correct. And I'm going to say this on October 4th of this year at 2:22, something like that, p.m. Eastern, and October 10th or 11th at 2:22 Eastern, there's going to be an emergency service broadcast. Unplug your TVs, unplug your radios, anything that gets a broadcast signal, a Wi-Fi signal. As far as your laptops and your phones, shut them down from 1:50 p.m. Eastern to about 3:30, 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern. Wrap them in tin foil about 9 times, aluminum foil. Put them in your microwave and don't turn them on until 4 o'clock, because I feel that the broadcast that they're doing don't have a good vibe about it. And this
is
is
going to be like a mind control type signal.
There's a lot of talk about this, whether it be mind control or releasing a payload. I just don't have a good vibe about it. And I've been talking with other people that are light workers, and we all feel the same way.
What do you mean by a payload? Destructive?
There may have been something that people took that may be released, or something may happen under an audio signal.
Well, no one in my house got the jab.
It doesn't matter, but the other people did, and it's just a vibe. I would highly recommend you just heed that warning.
Hey, point well taken. We will heed that warning.
Yep.
Thank you, Bryan.
You're welcome.
And to our listeners, if you take anything away from this, heed that warning. We'll all reconvene October 11th and figure out what happened.
Yep. See if I'm right or I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't have a good vibe about it.
Make sure that you check out Bryan's content. He has a lot of stuff going on. His link tree had so many links. He's got YouTube. He's got Twitter. He's got books. He's making appearances. And we thank you so much. You're a busy guy. Thank you for taking this time to chat with us.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me on. I mean, I always appreciate being asked. And I'm not one of those, I don't have a big head, I like talking about it, and I'll talk to anybody about it. But I appreciate you guys. You guys are great.
Thank you so much. And please like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate all our viewers, especially the live chatters, and their great questions. And until then, keep on exploring the edges of the unknown.